All right, so this is going to be a quick video about the new Cracker Barrel logo. The reason I'm going to make this video is because I saw a some kind of betting market post where, just for clicks or whatever, they said, oh, 90% said it should be illegal or something like that. Um, and honestly, it's kind of crappy. I mean, it's pretty crappy actually, the new logo, but it's not as bad as that it should be illegal. Um, and to be honest, the old logo is really not great either. So I'm gonna just talk about the first logo, the second logo, and what kind of things they could have done just to make the second one better in terms of visual appeal and also in terms of evoking the brand of Cracker Barrel, uh, in a better way than an orange shape with some text. Okay, so part one, the old logo. So let's look at the old logo here. And let's first talk about the good stuff. So the good stuff is it has really great feeling. So the premise of Cracker Barrel is that it's home style or country or southern homemade type of eating, right? Uh, and that's pretty obvious from the colors, which are very warm color. It's a very inviting color. Um, the character and the barrel there, it's a guy in overalls. Maybe he's blue collar or farmer sitting on a pretty maybe a homemade chair or something like that next to a barrel. I think that's pretty evocative of uh, you know some home style cooking, and obviously, well, you want to make the jokes about the title, Cracker Barrel, versus the depiction of the character here. But, there's literally a barrel, so that helps. Um, but it's in a cursive font, which is not, sleek, really. It's not corporate. So overall, it has a the logo itself is accurate to how Cracker Barrel, as far as I know, markets itself. And having been to a Cracker Barrel, I think it suits the actual uh, the design of the store, what they serve on their menu, and the kinds of things they sell in their little trinket shop. So in that respect, it's really great. Um, Design-wise, it's pretty terrible. I know that people have maybe some kind of sentimentality for it, um, but it's pretty bad. So let's just talk about the characters. Now, people really like that character for whatever reason. I can say from uh, an artist, an artist's perspective, uh, I would hate to have a character that's this detailed, like very detailed drawing like this on a logo, um, because it's just not gonna, it doesn't scale well. So if you took this image and put it on a business card, uh, you're gonna have to really fight to get the proper size to be able to read the text and be able to see, excuse me, any kind of level of detail in the character. Uh, Huge pain in the butt. Also, it's an unbalanced logo. So by that, I mean, you have the character on the left side, which is great. If you want this logo, you want to have the character there. But the important part here, when it comes down to it, is the name of the business, Cracker Barrel. Um, so now you have the name of the business, but it's off to the side of the logo, right? So this is basically right here, would be the center of your logo. But all your really critical, important information is over on this side, and then you have this mascot on the left. So now you have to figure out how to balance this unbalanced logo in your designs. That's a pain. That's a pain in the butt. I wouldn't want to do that. So if you look at Cracker Barrel, you look. I'm I'm not a huge Cracker Barrel fanatic or anything, but my guess is that they already were probably dropping the character from some of their uh, graphic design stuff. So they'll just have the text Cracker Barrel or just have the logo. So now you have to maintain and keep these different types of logos consistent. That's a pain. So I can see why they would want to change that. Now the other thing is, I did say that the text and is good. It's nice. It's pleasant to look at. It has a handwritten flourish to it. I don't know what the shape is. It's kind of an odd shape. It's like a bean or something. Like I don't. It doesn't really make sense as a shape on its own, and that can be fine for graphic design. But um, when people see a sign, they want to see something that more or less looks like a sign. And there's a lot of examples of what an old time sign looks like that people already have that image in their head, and this doesn't really fit into that. It looks kind of like an artist's easel maybe. So if you go like this and you have like your paint here, it's not an art supply store. Kind of looks like a bean, but then has this like weird pointy thing. Maybe a beret, like a beret with a guy down here. So guy wearing a beret. Yeah, so I really not a fan of the shape. So that's really the main things that are not good with this. It's terrible for scaling. It's terrible for consistency between different formats and sizes. And I can see why they'd want to change it. It's just a really unwieldy logo. It's a very cluttered logo, unbalanced logo. And, they want to change it. I can't really fight that. Somebody who has to deal with logos, as somebody who has to deal with logos in other type of work, I would hate having to try to figure out how to put this into a website, onto marketing materials, onto business cards, onto product packaging. It's a huge pain, huge, huge pain. So I see why they changed it. Now let's look at part 2, which is going to be what they changed it to. Okay, so now we're going to look at the new logo. And this is a logo that is new after several decades of this business being in business. Sorry for the redundancy, but let's look at the new one, okay? So the new logo is here. Now I'm going to have both of them on screen just so you can look at the comparisons as I'm talking. So they've done away with the character, which I can't blame them. Makes sense. They've centered the design. So, over here, the important information is all of over here on the right side. On the second newer logo, it's in the middle. So they've changed the outer shape to something more standard. It's not this weird funky shape, which in comparison kind of has a bit of charm compared to the new logo, but it's less odd. It's just a less odd shape. Okay, I can see why they wanted to do that. They took off the border, which is fine. I talked about reproducing this logo, printing the original logo at different sizes, and how that could cause issues with the detail of the character. You can also kind of run into those issues when you have an outline for your logo, especially if it's kind of a thinner outline like the old logo has. So that's okay. They kept the Cracker Barrel color. Actually, this isn't going to be perfect, but let's just do a little color picking, and it's pretty much the same. I think it's actually exactly the same. I don't see any movement on my color wheel there. So it's the same color. That's good. At least keep the color. Um, you know, part of the appeal of that color is that it's a warm color. It's a color that kind of evokes the Old West or South or, homey rural type of stuff. That's great. They kept the logo more or less. They didn't have that shape anymore, so they removed the tail, this thing. They removed the tail from the old logo, so that's not there anymore, which they don't need it because they don't have that weird shape. That's fine. They did change the font a bit, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But and then they check out that dark off black brown color. So I hate to say it, but in terms of uh, administration, having a usable logo, a logo that you can just plug into whatever product or publication, it seems a lot better to me. I think they didn't go far enough, but from a corporate standpoint, this is way better. Now it's still artistically bland, totally bland. Again, they could have pushed this further and still have something that's simple and easy to reuse at different size, different formats, different placements, so on. They went too far, but for certain things, I can see that this is. I shouldn't be controversial to say this, but it is strict upgrade in a lot of ways from the old logo. So, what is actually the problem with this? So, first problem, like I said, is bland. It doesn't, instead of using imagery and, it still keeps some color. I'll talk about that. But it doesn't evoke the same feeling as the overcomplicated, off-centered, and poorly scaling original logo. This could be, if you don't know what Cracker Barrel is, this isn't going to tell you anything about it. The older one will. This one will not. So they're losing out on that. Yeah, it's hard to keep criticizing it because it really is just so bland. It's just so nothing in a lot of ways that there's so little to criticize about it. And I wonder if that's part of what the artist did. I know when I do projects, I'll come up with a lot of different concepts for things. And it's tempting to say, hey, look, I did all these concepts. These are all the great ones. Here's all, I did 10 versions of something, right? Well, all 10 of those are, if you're a good artist, if you're competent at your job, all 10 of those options are going to be totally acceptable. You've done a job where you gave them 10 options, okay, but none of them are going to be failures. Okay, you should have already, developed those, trimmed them down. Here's the 10 options. All of them are going to be great. Just tell me which one to go with. But if you're an artist, you're also going to have your favorite among those. So out of those 10, you're probably going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 that you think are actually the better ideas. And you'd prefer those to be it, but your client may pick something else. Well, in this case, in that case, it's actually better just to, if you think it actually is the better option, just delete the other ones and just submit the ones that you prefer. And I wonder if in this case, the graphic designers actually did have some more interesting designs. It's easy to blame them for, oh, the graphic designers suck, the artists suck who picked this. But, people, you have to remember that a talented artist could come up with a lot of really interesting designs. They could come out with some things that are even out there, kind of extreme or out of the usual that are great. But they're not going to appeal to the person who's going to actually decide on what the logo is. So, you know, they at least had the wisdom to keep the color, keep the font mostly, but they didn't take that extra step to make it a little bit more artistic, memorable, and evocative. So just remember that, you know, this may be just, it's so bland, it's so boring, but that may just be because that bland and boring logo is what appealed to the person who paid for it, unfortunately. And the artist may have they may have submitted more interesting logos and those got rejected, or they just made the mistake of including this boring, nothing logo along with those more interesting and exciting logos. And those interesting and exciting logos were just too scary for the people picking the corporate trade imagery here. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's always easy to really talk down on these things, but you know, remember there are some talented people involved. I assume, because it's still a competent logo. But when you're talking about a big business, you know, you should really be striving for more than that. So before I move on to what maybe they could have done with the logo, and again, this will be off the cuff. I'm just coming up with some ideas off the top of my head. You know, I could probably come up with better things, but you'll just have to take my word for it. So before I move on, I do want to point out they switched the color of the logo just to straight black. I don't know why you would do that, because pretty simply, let's see, this dark brown is just a nicer color, or this dark red. Now I see here it's red. Let's see, lighten. So even just that little change there, it's already better. It makes me wonder if there's some other motive for that, but I personally think it's just, you know, they dropped the ball on the color coordination there. I mean, even just having that, it's warmer, it's more inviting, it's less jarring. You know, just having a straight black color really stands out, which can be great for a logo, but you know, this is supposed to, you're not supposed to be getting beaten over the head with the logo of Cracker Barrel. It's supposed to be warm and inviting. So I think even just changing that color is a big improvement. And then, now I do like the old logo, but I can, just a minor criticism of that old logo is the R's. So these R's here, oh, you can't see it. This R, this here. Let's change so this R. And the criticism I have of the R is that it's kind of reminds me more of the curves and points of like an Arabic text style. So this R looks more fitting to me for like an Aladdin font or like a Lawrence of Arabia font. I think the R is just like too scripty, too curvy and pointy. And I think the change to the other one, I think it's overall an improvement. Still a little squared off in my opinion, but I think it's a lot less exotic of a font, if that makes sense. So they did do a good job on that. So what would I do? Now I'm going to now talk about what I would do that could probably fix a logo or at least make it somewhat better. So let's do that. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and merge down the color because that is just already going to be my recommendation. Oops. You have to bear with me here. I don't have all of my hotkeys set up in Clip Studio as I do in other programs. So let's move this up. So if you just compare right away, just changing the color helps. I would also make the text bigger. We'll take this here and just make it bigger. It's fine. Don't worry. You're not going to get in trouble. Okay? Cracker Barrel, bigger. Now, the exception here, no, actually, I was going to say the exception here. Now, let's say Cracker Barrel. Is there any other part of the memorability of the name Cracker Barrel is that it has barrel in it? There's other reasons why it's memorable, but that's not important to this discussion. So, barrel. I don't know of any other big businesses with barrel in the name. I'm trying to think barrel. Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head. And if there are, they're probably local businesses. So let's say you wanted to do that. I mean, already, I think the idea behind the shape of the background is that it's supposed to be like a barrel, but it's so featureless that it doesn't quite get there. So let's say you just take some white text, some white lines, and just draw a barrel shape, right? And again, this is just a rough. So let's say you want to keep them somewhat large because, again, remember, part of the problem with the old logo is that it doesn't work when you scale it. And again, if I have more time, I would take, and this is just a tip, or an explanation of the design process, is if you have more time, you can take more time to, let's see, I don't know, to really place the text in the best way. So for example, this TM is off on the side. I'm going to assume they still want it. So let's just take it and, I don't know, just scooch it over there. Why not? And then we'll make this a bit bigger. And the reason for that is to have the text intercept those lines for the barrel. So it looks less strange because it wasn't intercepting at all with the right side of the text. So let's just say, take the R like that, take the L like here. Then again, we'll go back with a C and correct the spacing on the border. Okay, wow, it's a Cracker Barrel. It kind of looks a little bit more like a barrel, like something like that would work. You could do, yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of dumb because it's just like, okay, just put some barrel marks on it. But the point is, like, they could do more with that. I'm sorry that really not coming here. Just kind of working through this. So let's say, just do some more barrel lines, right? You know what? That actually made it like way better. Cracker Barrel, where the logo is actually a barrel. I don't think that's a huge leap of creativity, and I don't feel like I deserve much praise for doing that. But it's pretty basic, right? And it kind of looks like something. How about that? Yeah, so that's just, a 5-minute thing of how they could have made it better. Even this little sketch, I think, actually looks like a barrel. Kind of evokes the old imagery of the old one, of the old logo. Text is more readable. The text is a nicer color. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm not getting paid, unlike the people who made this other logo. So, but it's just to demonstrate, you don't have to go so simple with these logos. And just completely discard a lot of the feeling and the meaning behind your logo, the tradition in this case behind the logo, and you don't have to discard people's attachment to your brand. You know, maybe Cracker Barrel isn't, you know, I don't know how to say this. It's not like the most famous and lauded food place in the country or the world. It has its niche, and as, as far as I can tell, it's serving on that niche, and people like it. You know, people go there with their families, their friends, or whatever for gatherings, and they have fun moments at a Cracker Barrel. Uh, Maybe they have special memories at a Cracker Barrel. So when you're changing things like this, uh, it kind of feels to those people like, oh, you know, that place where I used to go, they're kind of changing things in a weird way that doesn't make sense to me. And, you know, from that visceral perspective, that's why people don't like these kinds of logo changes, because it doesn't improve their experience, right? All it does is remind them that this place that they are fond of, excuse me, is actually uh, a business. It's a corporation. It's not a place just for them to have fun or relax or meet with their family. Uh, it's a place that exists to make money, which is great on its own. But you know, hiding the business aspect of what you do is part of giving people a comforting experience. You know, they don't want to be beat over the head with the fact that, you know, this place that they've been enjoying is actually, you know, some kind of corporation or whatever. I don't know their legal structure, but you know, it's they're just a customer, right? When they see things like this, where you turn an old, very old logo into something that is so abstracted, people get the sense that, oh, wow, this place I go to actually, if they'll do this to their own logo, they probably just think of me as numbers in a spreadsheet. And that's not good to do to your patrons. You should be more thoughtful uh, about how you change your branding and uh, how people are going to perceive that. And, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not going to say anybody's out of touch, but, you know, if you think that the customers of Cracker Barrel are going to see the new logo and they're going to be like, oh, wow, that's great. Uh, Thumbs up. I don't think you really have a good read on your customers. That's just my opinion. Um, could be that they did some kind of survey, but I would find that suspect that people would choose the new logo. Especially people who consistently go to Cracker Barrel. So I hope that was helpful. Um, maybe some of you found it useful from a artistic standpoint, marketing standpoint. I'm not a marketer, but I hope it was helpful to you. Um, and again, it's a bad logo, but you know, it's hold on, let me make a group. Again, I'm sorry for this. Like I said, this is live, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Accept my apologies, please. So, you know, you're going from this old logo to this new logo. New logo stinks, but you know, there's a lot of ways that it's an improvement. They just dropped the ball on carrying forward the legacy and the tradition and the brand identity of Cracker Barrel to the new logo. For any other generic business, totally a fine logo, but for Cracker Barrel with a reputation, with a very distinct aesthetic uh, and you know reputation, terrible. I'm unfortunately. So for Cracker Barrel, it's a terrible logo. For generic business number 52, it's fine. It's really, again, it's not as bad that it needs to be illegal. So, anyways, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for listening to me ramble about a freaking restaurant logo. And hope you have the great rest of your day. Bye.